guys, welcome to my channel. You're looking at me in HD because I just bought a new camera and I still don't know how to work it, so hopefully all this works fine. Today we're going to be doing a video that's a little bit different than the videos I've done before. This is a new series I'm trying to do on my channel called The Most Interesting People I Know. And today I'm interviewing my best friend since second grade, Joel. Joel's really integral in the evolution of myself, first person to ever bring me to a play. The creation of the theater kid is because of Joel. And we go into a lot of that stuff in the interview that you're about to see. But I wanted to preface this video because there's been a lot of stuff going on right now with the social climate. And I wanted to preface this by saying that this video is not about Joel being a trans man. This video is about a lot of things. This is about Joel being a human. And I think a lot of times when people are trying to demonize a certain group or villainize them, it's because they make them about one thing. And this video is about how this person is a lot of different things. And one of them is a trans man. And I think that sometimes we just really forget about the humanity of people, and we really forget to empathize and identify with those people. And so I thought this was a really interesting time for me to make this video, but I wanted to preface it by saying, you know, there's a part in this interview where Joel tells me that the scariest part about coming out was having to talk to me about it. And I, in the interview, just kind of blow over it. I'm like, oh, I hate that. But that's something I deeply regret. Don't be that person. Don't be that person that someone comes to you and opens up about and you demonize them or you cut them off or you villainize them. Because that's not what they need. That's not what people need. And right now it's a really scary time, especially for these kinds of marginalized groups. So be a safe haven. Because at some point you'll look back and be very disappointed in your old self that you weren't. So I just wanted to preface this video by saying that I hope you guys enjoy it. I tried to make the audio sound good, but it doesn't sound great. Love you guys. Bye. Hi. This is my friend Joel.
Hi, I'm Joel.
Yeah, you're Joel.
I'm Joel.
You're Joel.
This is neat.
We just went snorkeling. Where did we go snorkeling?
Hanauma Bay.
Hanauma Bay, which apparently is the place to go snorkeling.
I think so. It's pretty good.
I only started to hyperventilate when I put the snorkel in. Just a little bit at the very beginning. So that's good. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Charis, and this is...
I'm Joel.
Joel, do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, I've known Charis for 20 years.
Long time. Longest friend ever. Longest person to ever know me, besides my first close family.
Well, yeah, except for family. But, you know, we met in second grade.
Yes.
When we were both 7 years old. Yes.
We were playing this game that was centipedes that you had to put together. Was it worms? You don't remember?
No, I know the game, but we played that at your house.
No, I remember. It was second grade orientation. It wasn't even second grade. It was before second grade. And okay, so some backstory of that. I'm sorry, I cut off your intro.
Go for it. No.
But some backstory of that is that I was homeschooled for the entire time that I was educated, except for second, third, and fourth grade, which are things that you actually might not know about me. Special Charis fact. But I was homeschooled for most of my education, except for second, third, and fourth grade. And in second grade, you were the first friend I ever made. So the first friend I ever made that wasn't someone I went to church with, probably. Like a normal. Yeah. My first secular friend.
Yeah, and look what I did to you. Anyway, yeah, and I had just moved to the school district. I was also homeschooled the year before.
Right.
But had some friends in the area, but not at that school. So I was looking for new friends, and I think we made it work.
Yep. And so I always talked about how I was the kid that took all the special ed classes, but all my friends were the smartest kids in class. And so I always thought it was a weird, because you could have a learning disability and be really smart. Maybe not be able to talk, but you can be smart too. You too, kids. Really funny is I'm super, super dyslexic, as I've mentioned, and Joel, I literally go see Joel win spelling bees. Like we would go around the state, like watching Joel win spelling bees. So it was a really fun juxtaposition of that. But we've been like good friends the whole time. I always talk about how, you know, we're not people that like, we might go 4 months without talking to each other, but whenever we do come back together, it's like, ah, yes, nothing ever changed.
Yeah.
Ever. But we're in Honolulu.
We are.
Waikiki specifically. Sorry, I don't want to dox you.
That's fine.
We're in Waikiki, where Joel lives now. Why do you live here? What do you do here in Honolulu?
It's a complicated story. The short of it is I was looking for jobs when the pandemic hit, and I found a job working against invasive species here in Honolulu. So I moved from the mainland US, from New York then, to Honolulu with my partner to look at bugs.
Watch bugs.
Because
bugs. Joel is
an entomologist.
An entomologist. He's a bug scientist. Yeah. Studies bugs. What's your favorite bug?
My favorite bug is the whip spider. They're super cool. They're the thing that Mad Eye Moody casts curses on in Harry Potter. They look like little crabs and spiders, but they're super smart, and they're not spiders, and they're not dangerous.
Why is it called a spider if it's not a spider?
It does look like a spider. It's got 8 legs. It skitters around. I got to hold one in Costa Rica, so go to Costa Rica, kids. Get in the caves. You too can hold a whip spider.
You too can hold a spider if you want to. What's your least favorite bug?
Centipedes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Fast and bitey.
What made you want to be an entomologist?
So, I don't know. I was always into, like, I don't know, like the grosser things as a kid. Like, I like to, you know, be outside.
I agree. I concur,
yeah. I had a bug catcher, but as you know, I also had a crippling phobia of moths.
Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that because there's an episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob sees a moth, or Sandy Cheeks sees a butterfly, and freaks out. And I remember how freaked out you were about that episode of SpongeBob.
That like close-up of the butterfly's face did not do good things for me. But I was afraid of moths. I couldn't go outside at night. I couldn't have a light on in my room at night because I was afraid of them. And then like it just kept getting worse. And like, you know, as you like think about things and you're like, oh, I'm afraid of moths. And that's like something you tell people, it like gets truer and truer. And then by the time I was a freshman in college, I couldn't say the word moth anymore.
Right.
My friend sent me a picture of a moth as a joke, and I spent an entire night at a party crying in the bathroom.
So a phobia. Like so when people say phobia, that's what they mean.
And then I was in a liberal arts class at my liberal arts college where I was studying ancient literature and poetry. And my teacher said, all right, I'm going to go around the room and I'm going to ask everyone to say something that they're passionate about that has nothing to do with school. And I was like, oh, I don't really have that. Like, I'm not really passionate about anything. I'm just here for the degree. But I was sitting in the middle of the room, so I was like, all right, he's going to go around. That means I have time to think about it. And then he pointed right at me and he was like, you start. And I said, I like bugs. And he was like, then why are you here at a liberal arts school? I said, I don't know. He was like, you should think about that. And I went home that night and I thought about it and I dropped out within the week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I did not last long at that school just because I was like...
What school was that?
That was Soka.
Soka, okay.
Yeah, Soka University.
And then after that, what did you do with being
Well, after that, I took a semester off to like think about things.
To think about bugs.
To think about bugs.
Yes.
Because I was like, I can't be a bug scientist and not be able to say the word moth.
Yeah,
I won't be able to open my textbooks.
Like, I didn't even think about the correlation of those things. Yeah. That's actually quite interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so I took a job at an insect zoo in the butterfly room where butterflies and moths land on you for 8 hours a day. And it cured me. And then I like moths.
What is that called? It's a kind of therapy.
Like immersion
therapy. Yeah.
So the first time a moth landed on me, it landed like right on my crotch, and I had to ask someone else to come remove it because I was like, I can't touch it. I'm not doing that. But then after that, like, I was still like, I was fine with them landing on me, but I wouldn't touch them. And then my boss needed me to go release butterflies, which is where like they've just come out of the cocoons. They're really fragile. You just need to like pick them up gently. Don't pick up butterflies if you don't know how to pick up a butterfly because you can hurt it. But you pick them up and put them on a tree to let them like get the blood into their wings so they can fly. And I was like, I can't do it. You know, I can't do it because I can't touch the butterflies. And he was like, if you can't touch butterflies, you can't work here.
Yeah.
And so I went out. I touched the butterflies in front of a bunch of guests who were watching me, so I didn't have like I couldn't freak out because there was an audience, and so I touched the butterflies, and then I was okay. Like once I did it once, I was fine.
Just had to touch it. So you too can touch the butterflies.
So you too can touch the butterflies. Don't touch the butterflies.
Don't touch, yeah, don't touch the butterflies because they've got the things on
The
their
scales,
wings,
yeah.
right? And if you rub it off, they can't fly.
That's true. If your oily little fingers touch a butterfly's scales, then it can't fly and it'll die.
And these are butterfly flags with almost Dr. Joel.
With almost Dr. Joel.
Dr. Joel. But that's what you're doing here right now in Hawaii, is getting your doctorate. So you will actually be Dr. Joel in like 7 years.
In 7 years, exactly.
Because you went to school in the States, and then you got your master's in England. Where in England did you get?
Huddersfield.
Where does that lie?
Okay, so it's like Manchester is in like the upper west, and then like Leeds is like just next to it to the east, and Huddersfield is right between Manchester and Leeds. So it's like equidistant from both. It was voted the worst place to live in England.
Cool.
It just lost that title last year, but before last year, for like 10 years running, it was the worst place to live in England.
Why is it the worst place to live in England?
I think the article I read said that it was rough and chavvy, which it is, yeah, for sure. There was like lots of dudes like smoking cigarettes and tracksuits outside my apartment all the time. There were 2 stabbings at my local McDonald's.
Oh, that's not good. That's bad.
But honestly, I loved it. Like, I still liked it more than living in New York.
What's the worst thing you ate when you were in England? What's your least favorite thing to eat? Was there a lot of bad things?
Yeah, so I'm vegetarian, which saves me from a lot of it. But there's a vegetarian blood pudding, which, like, why? Blood pudding is already terrible. Why did you have to inflict that on us? So it came with like a breakfast set where they had this little like black cake. And I was like, what is that? A mushroom? And I put it in my mouth and I went, no, it's fake blood. It was so weird. Very weird choice. England is terrible, kids. You too can eat blood pudding.
That's vegetarian, apparently. So the other day we were talking about, while we were driving through Honolulu, we were talking about how when you were like 16, you were a little bit of an activist. So do you want to say some stuff about?
Yeah, sure.
I want to call him that instead of him just being like self-proclaimed.
I wouldn't. I want to be modest and be like, I wouldn't call myself an activist, but I was, in fact, literally an activist.
Yeah.
So when I was 16, I was the first kid in my school district to come out as trans. So I was born female and now identify male. And it was a weird time. It was like I came out like 6 months before Caitlyn Jenner did. So it wasn't really something that like the world was talking about yet.
It's really interesting. It was really close to that.
Yeah,
I didn't think about it being
this,
that close
weird
to that.
trans revolution that was not, for my perspective, caused by anything.
Right.
Yes, I had felt uncomfortable for a long time and didn't know what it was, and just like got more and more uncomfortable as high school went on.
Right. I always talk about, because we talk about this a lot, and I think some people know it if they've ever seen my Twitch stream. I grew up really conservative, and so it was really interesting when I would have a conversation with people about it, because I'm like, when I see photos of when we were kids, Joel did not smile in any photo ever. Not one time. It was always the juxtaposition of our personalities that was like, oh, the yin and the yang. Charis is like bubbly and crazy, and Joel's just.
As a kid, it was like a character trait. It was like, Joel's like so mopey. That's what Joel's like. But it's like, oh no, that was depression.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I always talk about how, like, you know, when we were kids, like absolutely miserable. And now I would explain Joel as being like the life of the party, like filled with like a lot of spirit as just a person. And like whenever anyone wants to talk to me and be like, yeah, no, negative generally about, I'm like, I have like this proof. Like I can show you the photos.
Yeah.
I can show you the evidence. And like that's not just like, oh, you're confused to me, like as people want to make it seem.
Yeah. Well, I felt confused, and then I figured out that I was a guy, and then I was like, whoa, now I'm not confused. Like, now that totally makes sense. And it all made sense to me. And I can say, like, without a doubt in my mind, if I had not transitioned at 16, if I had not started identifying male and started hormone treatment, I would not be alive. So that's important to me that I did that, you know, and I don't regret it, like, for an instant. I don't like, you know, having to give myself hormone shots. No one does, but, you know, it's worth it. It's totally worth it to be where I am today. Yeah. So that's a big deal.
What was it like when you, because obviously your coming out experience was a little different than I would probably say most people was, but what was that like for you?
Oh, well, so I came out to my mom first. I had already been head of the Gay Straight Alliance in my high school. I was already the president of like the queer club, even though I was identifying as a straight girl at the time. Just because I had a lot of like gay friends and, you know, queer siblings and things like that. So I was very much involved in the world of it. And I had been going to a lot of like queer events and outreach programs and stuff. And I had opened a like queer club for the middle school. Like
Right.
it was a big deal. I was already like, I don't want to be like in the papers, but like, yeah, I was already like a known face in the activism circle. And I went to a party where I had met. I must have met non-binary people before
Mhm.
that, but I don't remember meeting anyone who like specifically was outside the binary.
Mhm.
Um, and I met this cool person that night who wasn't male or female, and I was hanging out with them all night. And then the next day, I was trying to tell my mom about them, and my mom was like, "What is making you so interested in these like weird genders?"
Yeah.
And we were in the car. My brother's in the back seat, and I went, "Mom, I think I want to be a boy."
Mhm.
She's like, "You don't want to be a boy," and I was like, "No, like this is a serious talk. This isn't like a
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
not
I
just
want to be a
saying
princess.
this.
Like
Yeah.
I think I want to be a boy, and I think I'm gonna be a boy next year."
Mhm. And how old were
And
you when that happened?
I was 16.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
was
that makes
16.
sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because yeah, it was the beginning of my like 16th year. I had like just turned 16. Um and I had been thinking it for a while. Like I have like my diaries from back then that
Mm.
start like I don't know. It starts like a year earlier being like, why am I so masculine? And I wasn't. Like I was not a masculine kid. I was like, skirts and tight shirts and
Right.
everything.
Well,
Like I
that was
was
what we were talking about the other day because
yeah.
I grew up a tomboy. Like I put all my hair in a baseball cap, and Joel was in dresses,
Yeah.
and so that just goes to show that none of that shit matters.
Yeah, but
So, yeah.
I used to like put on these dresses and makeup and everything
Yeah.
when I was like 12, like way too
Right.
young to be doing that. And like look in the mirror and just be like, why do I look like a boy still? And I didn't.
Mhm.
Like it was just like totally my brain like trying to let me know, like,
Right.
hey, here's what's gonna happen. Um yeah, so then my mom was like, well, let's talk about this, let's
Yeah.
get some resources. But I'd been planning to come out someday. I kind of thought I would like wait till college was my
Right.
plan. Um, so my original timeline when I like decided like, okay, I have to come out or I'm not going to survive this was I'll come out right before I leave for college.
Mm.
Then I'll start hormones right at the end of college. And then maybe at some point, like in my mid 20s, I'll get top surgery, a
Yeah.
mastectomy to remove
Yeah.
my breasts. Um, it went a little faster than that.
Yeah.
So I came out to my mom when I was 16. So that was right at the end of my junior year. I came out, and then right in my sophomore year of high school. Um, and she was really cool about it.
Mm.
She like had an instant reaction of like, oh, obviously I support you. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's
Right.
how we're gonna make this good. I'm setting you up with a therapist. I'm sending you up with a gender therapist.
Mm.
I'm looking into clinics for hormones. Like all of this is good. And then like a week later, it like hit her what was happening, and she spent a few days like in mourning and
Mm.
checking in with me to be like, "Are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, this is a really big decision. I'm really worried about your safety."
Mm.
Um, she had seen like Boys Don't Cry with Hillary Swank. She was like, "I don't want that to happen to you," which is a true story, of Brandon Tina who was killed for being trans, and
Right.
like
Right.
so she
And I
was
feel like for any like progressive parent, I feel like that's their biggest fear about it
yeah
is what's going to happen to my kid if this happens because like that's a big fear. Like there's a lot of violence
yeah
against trans people.
yeah, and respectfully, like totally, I understand what she was saying, and especially when she was noting that I was going through a lot of phases at the time. I went
Mm.
through like a month-long K-pop phase where I was a K-pop stan, like literally for a
Yeah.
month, and I was deciding like I had been looking at schools for Korean studies, and then I
Mm.
was like, actually, wait, maybe I'm not a K-popper. Like, I had gone through like a punk phase where I wore like black eyeliner every day.
Mm.
I had gone through a vegan phase, which I was still kind of in when this happened, but
Mm.
like I was a person who did phases.
Mm.
So my mom was like, sounds like a phase. Like in a way that a lot of parents don't have a right to say. My mom was like,
Right.
just be sure.
Yeah.
But I was sure. Like
Mm.
it felt so different. And honest, I am very, very glad I saw all the therapists I did. It sucks that it's required. So
Yeah.
New York State, before you can start hormones, if you're a minor, at the time, I think it's changed since then, you had to meet with 6 different mental health professionals.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like not just 6 times?
No, 6 different.
Oh, wow.
So you had to have a regular therapist that you had been seeing for like at least 6 months or something like that. You have to have a gender therapist. I don't think that one was required, but they required 2 therapists, and my mom picked a gender therapist because she would know what was up. You had to have a caseworker, a social worker, and like one other person provided by the clinic. Like it was just so many people I had to tell my
Right.
story to, explain everything to, and like not know if I was, if I should be telling the truth or if I should be like, be like, oh, well, I've known this since I was 5,
Right.
which wasn't true. Like, and after talking to all of them, they all came up with the same conclusion, which was like, oh yeah, you're trans.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
definitely
yeah,
a
I
trans
concur.
person.
I write it
Yeah,
in my little
like
notebook.
especially the gender therapist was super
Yeah.
helpful. She would be like, do you have a sister who's super feminine? And I'd be like, yeah. And she'd be like, okay. like little things like that where I was like, okay, all right. So she gets me. And then after I came out and I was like fully living male, I hadn't started hormones yet, but I was like binding my chest and everything, cut my hair really short. I had to study abroad in Ecuador, and that my study abroad host mom had been told she was getting a 16-year-old girl, and we didn't want to freak her out. So I identified as female while I was there, and just like how disgusting and wrong that felt, I was like, okay, I'm male. Like for sure, for sure.
It's an interesting test for
yeah,
that,
it was useful. Sure. Yeah, and it definitely showed me what was up, which is that I'm male for sure.
Yeah,
and I am.
Do you remember having that conversation with me?
I kind of do, because you were the person I was like most scared to tell. You were like an extremely important person in my life. At this point, we hadn't seen each other probably in like 5 years or more.
We only lived in the same state for maybe 5 years.
At most, yeah.
And then
I don't think so.
Yeah, because I only lived in we met in New Hampshire when I lived in New Hampshire. So I moved when I was 12, when we were 12. So this was years after that, 4 years after that. And so you had came and visited me a few times, but we weren't like seeing each other every single day. But at that point, I think we were closer than like I would say we have been in the past like 8 years.
Yeah. I think we were talking a lot, but we also both at that point had like high school friends.
Right,
you know, like
we had other
both
people.
had like new people coming into our lives. But I was like, I don't know, all my high school friends were in the queer club with me. They're not going to care.
Like, and both my parents are pastors, and I live in the South. And you knew that I said that being gay was a choice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there was a time where like, I had, friends or family like come out and you were like, are you sure? Are you sure you still want to be friends or family with that person? Like, you sure you don't want to cut them out of your family? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So,
and I always talk about like how, like, because obviously like doing all of this stuff takes a lot of like grabbing life by the balls and being like, no, I'm gonna live it my way. And I think that that's like awesome that you're able to do that. I hate that it was like scary to talk to me about it, but I also understand, because like the transformation of my life has so much to do with what you went through. And so like, and if I hadn't, I think have had someone in my life, like I said, being able to look back and be like, no, you were miserable as a child, and now you're not, and it's not for really any other reason. Like was a very important like moment in like my anti-bigotry. And like the evolution of that.
Well, I remember like I think I came out to you over like Facebook Messenger. Because of like how we communicate. And I remember being like, hey, so
you started it with being like, I know that this is not going to be taken well. And I understand your decision either way.
I remember saying like, I don't know if this makes it better or worse for you, but I'm also gay now. Which was also a big thing because I liked men when I was a girl and I liked men as a guy. Like that didn't change. Didn't change my sexuality. So I was like, I don't know if that's better or not. And I remember your response. You were like, I'm going to need some time to think about this. Which I didn't, even then I was like, I hope this is okay. But like at that time, it's so hard to think about the future when like something big and scary like that is happening too. Like I didn't know, maybe in a week like I'd decide, oh, I'm not trans anymore. Like I didn't know how this was gonna go.
And I'm sure that was what I was hoping for. With saying that you'd be like, nah,
just kidding. I'm good. But yeah, I was just like, you said I need a little bit of time, and I said okay. And then I don't think I heard from you for like a couple weeks, but it wasn't long after that you were like, I'm gonna come visit you, and and that's what's up. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I do not remember the process of like what happened. I'm sure I talked to my parents about it. And I'm sure that was a whole thing. But I remember it just being like, because I had done theater my whole life, and a special fact, I had done theater my whole life, which is Joel's fault. Like the whole reason that Theater Kid is a thing is because Joel took me to my first musical in the 2nd grade, which was a very adult musical we shouldn't have been at. But
I'm sorry, Michelle.
So literally, like that whole part of my life is because he dragged me to a show. I'd done theater my whole life. And so I'd been around people that were homosexual, like, because that's where they live. And so like I had always been able to like separate myself from that, because that's the culture I grew up in, was to be in the world, not of this world. And I think I was able to really disassociate from those kinds of people for a really long time. And so I think that forced me to be like, oh, this isn't the other anymore. Now it's
Yeah.
people that I actually care about. It isn't just like, oh, I known you. Please stop honking,
That's a
sir.
car alarm.
But I think at that point, that was when I had to like self-evaluate.
Yeah.
And like I had definitely like had experiences where I had to self-evaluate already,
Yeah.
like personally from when I was younger, but never being like being able to be like, oh, this person is doing it and I don't understand how it's sinful. Like I don't get how it
Yeah.
is that. And I know that because the way I grew up and the way you grew up so different as far as that kind of stuff is concerned. And so and I think I always, I think that was helpful because it was like, oh, well, I'm very aware that the world that I live in has these set of rules
Yeah.
that Joel's never had to abide by.
No.
So it was interesting. And somebody, just to toot my own horn,
Yeah.
not like the car, but someone had asked me the other day, like, what was something that you're most proud of? And I think that for me and how I grew up, it would make sense for me to never speak to you again.
Yeah.
Like it would make sense. And I think and I think that's why it was so scary.
Yeah.
Because you knew that that was a very real possibility.
I think I remember like talking to my mom and being like, and her being like, are you afraid of, getting beat up at school or whatever? And I was like, I think I'm really afraid of losing Charis.
Right.
Like that was like a big concern in coming
Yeah.
out. Like that was like a should I not come out kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But
And I hate that. But I'm glad that it happened, and then we're here now. Hate all of those things. Push that down.
hey, that's how worth it you are, baby.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. But
Yeah.
But I think that like because I don't know how. Like I remember before that. I think it was even after that of being like talking to people about being gay being a choice and talking to people about how. I remember there was this one time I talked to someone about homosexual people being more violent than normal people.
Oh,
I remember it so distinctly having a fight on Facebook with somebody about this, and I do not know why.
Those rowdy gays.
Oh yeah, those rowdy gays, man, and they just want to wreak havoc on everything because that was how I was taught.
You told me at some point as a child, and I don't really remember any of the context of this, that it was the lesbians who were killing the Jews in Egypt.
Oh God.
I don't know what that even means.
They just all got their powers together.
Yeah.
And we're like, what?
I know. I distinctly remember being like, I guess lesbians were around in ancient Egypt. That's interesting.
Like,
that's what I took from that.
They really rallied.
I always pictured this like, group of lesbians chasing the Jews out of Egypt.
See, and that's the thing, and then I went to my first Pride last summer, and as soon as there was dykes on bikes, I'm just uncontrollably weeping like of how beautiful it is. Yeah. And I was like, man, the transformation is very evident in this. But yeah, I love you.
I love you.
I'm so glad we're here in Hawaii.
I know, right?
This is my last day in Hawaii. I don't know when this video is going to come out. But Joel's like one of the best people, most interesting people I know. And like we always talk about how whenever anything big happens in our life, we're always the person to call. Like whenever we break up with a long-term partner, I'm like calling Joel, like, yeah. And all of those kinds of things. And I think even like sometimes I've had partners who have asked Joel things like, but what do you think about like with this? Yep. And they'll because they know that Joel will like know me and be like, yes, no, yes, no. So I think that's a testament.
Yeah. Oh wow, I forgot about that. I've gotten Facebook message requests from people I do not know, being like, "Hey, I'm that guy that Charis is dating, so quick question." Like, what? Talk to your girlfriend.
Right. Because you're my longest friend, and I think I've always talked about. And this trip has kind of helped me to not think about myself anymore. But I've always thought that I've had a hard time maintaining relationships where I don't see people, which apparently is an ADHD trait, by the way. But I think that's true a lot of the time. And I think it really helps to have people that you're just like, okay, now we're reconnected.
Yeah.
And being okay with that. And, sometimes you're adults and you get busy and shit happens.
Yeah.
You just don't have any idea how things are going to go.
Someone gets married. Someone moves to Africa.
Someone gets divorced. Yeah, someone has to leave the country because of terrorism in Ghana when they're in the Peace Corps, which we didn't even get to. Okay, what did you do in the Peace Corps?
Yeah, so I joined the Peace Corps right after my senior year, after a quick internship. So I was there as an agricultural agent, and I can't talk too much about
Right.
it legally.
Right.
But I was living in Ghana in a really amazing community, making really amazing friends there, doing really, really cool work. And then suddenly, 6 months into what was supposed to be a 2.5 year stay, there was an incident, a security incident, as we are taught to say, and I had to leave.
Right.
Very suddenly.
And he just messaged me on Facebook. He's like, I gotta go. And I'm like, you just got there.
Yeah. So it was a very, very sudden, like, we were told the day before it was going to happen.
Right. And you were saying that it was really sad for a lot of people because they had been there for years and then had to pick up their lives and leave and not tell people where they were going.
Exactly. Yeah. So we weren't allowed to tell anyone in our community like what was happening or where we were going. We weren't allowed to call ahead. One guy did call ahead, and the chief in his community like locked his door and was like, someone's trying to kidnap him. Like, we can't let him go. Like, so these are people who like didn't want us to leave.
Right.
And then suddenly we were leaving. And we couldn't tell them why or that it was happening or if we would be back, because we really didn't know if we would be back. So I had kids in my house who were like, they called me uncle, and they, who I was trying to explain to in my very, very bad local language. Like, I did not speak the language there. Can't even say what language because there's only like 6 villages that speak it. So,
right.
But I did not speak that language very well. So like trying to explain like, no, like I'll try to come back, but I don't think I will. And I couldn't go back.
I remember being very concerned about you being in Africa, period.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
yeah, there are some tricky gender situations.
Right.
There
what
too.
Is that?
Yeah.
What's that like, being trans in Africa?
Yeah. So Ghana specifically is like, they're generally progressive, I would say, but they're very anti-gay.
Right.
So while I was there, a college friend of mine was my wife. Right. So I would like have her send her pictures of herself like wearing a fake engagement ring, and I'd be like, oh, this is my wife, like she's waiting back home for me, like crazy stuff like that. But I didn't know what their views on gender were, and I never really got an answer to that. I just thought that would be a lot to bring up.
Right.
And at the time when I'm still trying to figure out how to say like, I would like 1 egg, please.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to have to learn about like gender education as well.
Right.
So instead, I would just work really hard to make sure no one found out that I was trans, which was really hard on like 6-hour bus rides when you need to pee halfway through, and they'd be like, oh, it's okay, I'll take you to the bathroom here, and it's just a wall that you're supposed to pee against.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll go with you, I'll stand next to you. I'm like, oh no, like, I don't need to go anymore, man.
I get nervous.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff like that, and then like in the community, like all the kids want to hang out with you all the time.
Right.
All the time. So there are kids like trying to boost themselves up on my window while I'm taking a shower and stuff. And like, I can't let them see anything in here. Like, so it was tricky for sure.
Yeah. Well, how was it? How did you get your hormones and stuff?
That was a mess too. It just the Peace Corps medical's office is like really, really good.
Yeah.
And my doctor in Ghana, who was a nice Ghanaian man, he was talking to me and he asked like why I needed these hormones, and I explained to him because I trust him, working with the government to be cool. And he was like, oh, I went to school in Pennsylvania, like that's where I was trained, and there was a lovely man just like you there. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, he was a great guy. I really liked having classes with him. His name was Samantha. And I was like, her. She was a great woman. He was like, oh yeah, but he looked like a man. I'd be like, yeah, but she, like, he doesn't
doing their best,
yeah,
but not.
His heart's in the right place.
Right.
So he was like cool about it. He just like didn't understand, and then the big problem was just that it was so hot.
Yeah.
So it was like 114 Fahrenheit in my community every day, all day. No. And so my hormones denatured. Like they stopped working. Yeah. So I would have to get a new shipment like every 2 weeks, and like there was no way to get it except to go like 20 hours away. I don't remember what I ended up doing. I think I ended up just like being okay not doing them as frequently, my shots. I don't know what would have happened if I had to stay there for 3 years, because it just was not really going well.
Yeah.
I could have requested like a cooler, but you're not supposed to put them in the fridge or anything. So I don't know. There was not really an elegant solution to that.
Yeah.
I threw out like they gave me like a 2-year supply when I left, and I just threw it all out because I was like, I don't think it's working. I don't think it's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little easier to get in England for sure.
Yeah, well, because I just remember like, and again, I know you said it was confusing. You didn't really know how they felt about it, but I just remember
Yeah.
as soon as you told me you were going, I was like, I don't feel like they're gonna be super thrilled about you being a trans man. I'm
Yeah.
just not thinking that anyone. But I guess you did a great job of keeping it under wraps.
I don't think anyone there knew.
Yeah.
I think there were people there who knew I was obviously like different because
Yeah.
I come across pretty gay, but like they don't assume anyone is gay there
Right.
ever.
Right.
Like I could have kissed a man in front of them
They'd
and
be
they
like,
would,
you just getting something off his mouth.
yeah, like because men there do kiss and they like men like
Right. Right.
teens, like teen boys who are like super macho will hold hands while they walk because
Mhm.
it's just like a part of the
Yeah, they're
culture
just
there,
not
you know?
as
Like
yeah.
because they're super homophobic for sure,
Right.
but like they don't associate any of that with being gay.
Yeah.
The only thing they associate being gay is like gay sex.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
as long as you don't do that in front of
Yeah.
them, they're never gonna assume
Right.
you're gay.
And that was what we were talking about this earlier today about how like Joel's very passing. Like no one would ever
Yeah.
like if you like there are people that are always so annoying about bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you need to use your assigned birth bathroom. And it's like if anyone saw Joel going into the woman's bathroom, that would be a huge issue for everyone. And then there would have to be a lot of explaining when it just makes way more sense to go into the stall in the men's bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I would be allowed into a women's room.
Right.
But for a little bit there, it looked like I was gonna have to use women's rooms again.
Right.
Like that was like legislature that was like on the floor.
Crazy. And they keep trying to bring all that shit back all the time. But it's just like there's no like if I saw someone that looked like you, not you, but like if I saw someone that looked like you going into the bathroom with me, I'd be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so but it's just people just care about shit that doesn't matter all the time, and that's one of those things that we waste all of our energy doing. So you too could not waste your energy doing this.
You too can pee without looking at the person next to you. It's not a big deal.
In the stall with giant holes in it. Why do we have big holes in bathroom stalls? Like I don't understand why that's.
I saw a survey recently that said like 30% of Americans don't want to get rid of those gaps in the stalls.
Why?
Who are you?
Why?
Comment on this video if you are one of the people who loves gaps in
who
bathroom
just wants
stalls.
to look at people with their pants down, like you can't see anything. You just see like the side of their leg. It's just weird. Why can we not have regular doors? I don't understand that. That's
I miss England. They don't have those gaps there.
See,
it's weird.
We revolted the wrong way. We should have gone over there. That's what we should have done. Anyway, I love you, I love you, I love you. We're going to go enjoy my last night in Waikiki. If you are already subscribed to the channel, you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notification every single time I post a new video. This video, I don't know when it's going to come out, but we'll figure all of those things out. But you guys have a wonderful morning, noon, or night. Wherever you are in the world, you're loved by me. I'm in Hawaii right now, so wherever, you know. And I'll see you later. Alligator. After a while. Crocodile. Bye. Goodbye. Good. You stay there, and I'll turn the camera
this is elaborate.
Yeah. This is how I do all my videos. I come on screen, and then I have a very awkward intro. And then everyone thinks it's endearing.
I think it is.
Yeah. I think it's pretty endearing.
Pretty sweet.
Throughout this video, you're going to see me in different hair wetness. So right now, I'm in kind of wet hairness, but wet hairness. The wind. Do not mess up the audio of the wind.
And I was about to come out like publicly on Facebook, you know, and I wanted Charis to see it first because I didn't want it to be like a surprise to her when she was such an important person in my life. And I remember just writing and being like, and I don't know if this makes it better or worse.
There's an ambulance, and I don't know. It's right there. Go away.
There's like a hospital and like a fire station right there, but it sounds like it's gone.
Hopefully the audio for all this works. If it doesn't, I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah, I'll take it back. So
I need you to fix your car. I doubt that this microphone can pick it up, but if it can, the story is going to be so jumbled up. I should have brought my light. Is the really thing. I should have brought my light.
I have a ring light.
It's too late now. Now it has to be consistent. Get your car.
We can move inside because of rain at any point too. Okay.
It's okay.
There it is.
Thank you. Okay.
It is the Patreon and screen, the Patreon and screen, the Patreon and screen for the Patreon.